There are many places that we've been through in our childhoods. There are so many places that we simply can't remember them all. In fact, they all become this very big blur, or rather, one simple broad place in mind. One place that has such a little distinction that it becomes very eerie and unsettling. The internet has shared memories of these amongst one another, and sure enough, they all culminated in this one image, one so indistinguishable that everyone was mystified by how creepy it was and hit close to home. And this is what we know as the Backrooms. It all started in 2019 when this image was posted on 4chan and viewers were astonished by how eerie it was, and it reminded them of something, but they just couldn't put their finger on it. But it started to fade into obscurity until 2022 by when a YouTuber known as Kane Pixels, or Kane Parsons, uploaded a moving picture of a character going through the backrooms in pursuit of many unsettling, unidentifiable creatures.
Hello? Is someone there?
Inevitably, this made the backrooms even more popular than before, and became not just a repressed memory for people, but an appreciation of a very authentic, unparalleled work of art. This was because they unanimously agreed that this was a place that we've all seen in our dreams, yet over time that world becomes so distorted by our emotion of fear that comes with our own nostalgia, and that applies to me personally, so I would like to dissect that today. When I came across these spooky videos a la Blame It on Jorge, I ended up stumbling upon the trendy videos of liminal spaces, aka videos of empty places with spooky music. It was naturally so scary that it triggered the nostalgia part of my brain. From all the images of play places, pools, hallways, and houses, memories were starting to flood into my head. And I will explain 3 specific places that I was reminded of, so get ready for some lore dump. First of all, there was Aspen Ice, a hockey arena for the youth. I have visited this place since early 2008, and I was attached to how big the snack bar was, and its tables were so nice. There was also the hockey shop, as well as the little section of the gumball machines on the corners. Upstairs is where things really hit hard for me. We had an arena of a 360 perimeter of green and white cracked walls that was in between the division of the rink for leisure and the rink for competition. Whenever I came here for my brother's games, I would spend all my time running around the perimeter until all was done, and I loved doing so because it ended up distracting me from that annoying buzzer at the end of periods. Being a young child, I had misophonia, so that was hard to process. Having this method to escape the troubles felt really good as a way to evade the fear, and that perimeter aspect is rather reminiscent to the backrooms walls. Even better, I had other kids to join me in my fun running around the walls, as it was such a great time to be included amongst others. When we got older, we watched the games in the little private booth to discuss some personal secrets and oddities, and then later we joined our parents to watch the games traditionally with our snack bar foods. It felt like, despite my growth, the spirit would mostly stay the same. But I was wrong. Let's just say that it removed the authentic childhood aspect from the facility, and thus much fewer people go there now. This is especially true since they replaced the arcade with a second physical therapy center. Speaking of arcades, the next place to mention on my list is Giggles PlayStation. This was an arcade meant for 3 to 8-year-olds, and going to this place was rather rare because it was pretty much when we were invited to parties, but when I did go, to say it was amazing would be an understatement. We saw all the good games that you couldn't get in any other place, not to mention the good pizza that actively put Chuck E. Cheese's to shame. It even had hand puppet shows that were actually entertaining and had great voices put into them, showing their devotion into an otherwise mundane project. It even had miniature rides with tokens with the weird alien mascot face on it. The light and darkness in the arcade when I first went there, though, was ominous. Illuminated by the arcade machines, it unnerved me about how some kids would live in a place like this. Thankfully, my siblings introduced me to the good arcade games, including the practically exclusive Frantic Fred, and I was one with the team. Man, it felt so good to overcome such a weird experience of anxiety. The rides even made me forget all about my negativity, and this was another hotspot. This vindication wasn't meant to last, unfortunately, as about a decade ago, the place shut down due to low funds, and it is so desolate, even more uncomfortable than it appeared to be when I was a toddler. It goes to show that something fun can't be forever, and that I'm in a boat where people are going to find a new place to hang out with friends and their parents, no matter how strange it may seem. That last place in question is the L Mall. Yes, it was really called that, bear with me. It was a mall that consisted of department stores such as TJ Maxx, Marshall, Ashley Furniture, Walmart, the music shop, but it had really old stuff like Circuit City, W, Kodak Jewelers, and Curves, along with a small family pool. It even consisted of the Santa Station during December. It was a place where all of us went to run into our friends on a lonely Sunday or Saturday afternoon, and we just wanted to find a way to kill time and escape boredom, so this checked out. While I wasn't too interested in the stores, I was always so fascinated by the mall's tiles because they were arranged in a very unique pattern. Patterns that might seem familiar to you. Wink wink. Running into friends there was great too because we would have a blast wandering through the shops to see even if there was that little toy kiosk selling some new lore. Seeing it empty now, so barren, is very sad, and it is a big epitome of what the Backrooms are like because it's virtually a long strand of nothing. Well, aside from the lights and walls that have no explicit distinction, and when music plays, whether it's in 80s new wave or 90s grunge, it's a little more sad knowing how time is fleeting from us and that what was once a good part of our schedule and culture disappears quietly from us. I mean, looking at this very image, it is like the Backrooms, but brighter and louder even. So it does a lot to establishing what my childhood's world building had boiled down to. So now that we established what were the catalysts for my eventual attachment to the Backrooms, let's get into my reaction to the actual series. When I watched the video, I think it was the day after Bob Saget's death, and I was blown away by the effects. From the VHS aesthetic, to the large spacious rooms, to even the camera head monsters, this was a big project filled with artistic ability, potential, and visual storytelling, and engaging fear. The narrator's timid, confused delivery really made me feel like I was directly in their shoes, matching their reaction to the drawings and creatures and general environment that surrounded them. It was surreal, but that's an understatement because of how frightening it got towards the end with the big fall. These visions felt so real to me because I've constantly had visions of returning to one of these three places from my youth, but all of what made that special seems to have vanished, and that there will be no one else to really relay my feelings towards. So I'm left on big solitude. All of the fear in question comes from the nostalgia playing in my head. This simply isn't forever. And the sad truth is, that is the case. These places will disappear from my brain. These places will disappear from my brain, and I'll probably have no idea why they mattered to me to begin with. And the fear is also symbolizing that we don't want it to go away, yet ultimately it's fruitless, as memories will fade away no matter how hard we try to contain them. Anemioa, nostalgia for a time that you hadn't known, plays here too, thanks to the fantastical world that's both distinct and broad for all viewers to see. We may not have seen this exact location, but we feel sentiments over it. In fact, there is another section in this series that stood out to me, and that is when the cameraman finds the monster, and his genuinely horrified response says it all. It was one of the moments that truly made me declare this series a masterpiece, a memory of fear that I never even had.
What?
I think someone's been living down here.
Living down there? That's not possible.
Hey! Can you hear me? I think
Sorry, can you repeat that? Marvin?
that's not a person.
What is it?
That is not a fucking person!
What? Marvin, talk to me. What do you see? What's going on?
This series is basically impeccable. It knows how to be horrifying due to its use of repressed nostalgia, such that all the memories that we backed up turn into a horror. It made me realize that places will disappear not just physically, but in my head, and that feeling by itself is scary, but it is accentuated by the creatures and their unnatural screeches and movements that make the sole memory of their fear permanent. It is a truth that the memories that truly stick with us are the ones that we'd rather forget, and I really feel that is a true thing, because there are many things that I regret and can't escape, and it might be the same for you listening to this. So I appreciate the time that you've taken to hear me out, because the Backrooms truly is a place in anyone's head where they want to keep a memory only to have it shrouded by fear and malaise. Kane Pixels knew so well how to frighten and thrill his audience, because he wanted to capitalize on being part of the horror community, the weird side of YouTube, if you will. When he first found out about the franchise, he was only mildly interested in it, as it was just a chance to make a new project, and he had actually zero previous knowledge of the community in question. When he posted his video at the start of 2022, the resurgence spiked, and he was greeted to accolades and amazement from these new fans. And according to him, quote, "I came across the original image on my computer, and I just thought, it would be interesting to see if I could go to my 3D software, Blender, and try to recreate this scene in an environment." These new experiments for this channel proved to be for the best, as he grew more popular than he ever thought possible. His creative fingerprints really get the nostalgia aesthetic right, thanks to those unusual placements of yellows and how slow-going the action is until the instant climax that hits you like a ton of bricks. While the work is tiring, he is very proud of the efforts that he's made to keep viewers like me happy, not to mention create more lore for the community than ever brought before. After seeing him talk with so many famous people, it's clear to me that he knows he's well into his work, and that he anticipates so much more horror from this broad place that everyone shares, including me and him. And even the way that people are dissecting his videos, like I am right now, brings joy in his favor, and that he made a powerful, adventurous, horrifying work of art that is put in a true place for this modern world. Kane and his crew know how to make our nightmares real. I appreciate everyone who worked on the series, from set designers to voice actors to animators and editors. They were one whole unit tied together to make such a terrifying yet compelling world for us to view, one that we had no prior knowledge of, yet it feels so familiar. and the way that they pictured everything was so on the nose that there was no reason to shy away from praising the cast and crew for their efforts that resulted in one great job. All that I have left to say here is that I couldn't have made this little project possible without my friend Aaron. He inspired me to make this because he has a little project of his own. Actually, not little, big. To construct a place and make his own backrooms real to make us truly experience the fear of repressed nostalgia alongside a twist of an escape room. He's been playing games based on the horror franchise to encapsulate his own vision for making this reality. It's a big sense of anemoia. Yes, I'm sorry that I didn't pronounce it earlier correctly. Anemoia, that's how it is. So it's a big sense of anemoia, if you will, as you feel like you've seen it even if you really hadn't. Repressed memories here are making our chemistry even stronger as we follow suit on what our brains are trying to tell us here. I'm glad to have him as a friend because we share a lot of interests, including video games and movies, and it goes to show that we have been on the same wavelength of nostalgia as we love the lore of the 2000s, and Kane Pixels knows that pretty well because he combined that and the 90s into his work, which paid off so nicely. Regardless of our different settings of youth, we know that we've been to places that aren't meant to be, and that we may not have to leave it all behind, but we can extort it into an adventure for everyone to perhaps get all the negative feelings out. I hope that we'll all be friends for decades to come because he's been helping me meet more people to help my social life expand, as well as an enhanced education. So it's only fair to thank him for that as well. Our bonding over the Backrooms proved to be for the best, as we are reliving the memories that we kinda need to have and keep it in our hearts despite how futile it seems at first. But with our right attitude, we can have it all, and that's a win. We shall have the successful life once we put our mentality in the right places and keep our nostalgia in a careful mindset without burying it. So thank you all for watching this. I appreciate your kindness and patience and respect. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.